Kia ora, g'day. Welcome back once again here with another reaction. I think this is part 4 of my reaction to Mr. Mel Downs, former 22SAS operator, being interviewed by Big Phil Campion, who's also a former 22SAS operator. So let's jump back in.
Yeah. You did go to war in the Green Army as well, didn't you? So you went. You did the Gulf tour, didn't you?
Yeah. Well, what happened was, I actually, that was my first operational experience. That first tour of duty as a private.
Yeah.
But I also went again later on as a corporal because I was at armoured infantry over in Germany. I was getting a bit.
Cop again?
No, I went to a different unit. Went to the Gloucesters just for about a year and a half. And this was in something like 88, 89. And then after that, I wanted to go to the SAS because years ago, after I decided I wanted to go to the SAS. This was many years before. And we, in the Staffords and lots of infantry regiments, you get lots of people go, but very few get in.
Yeah.
In my unit, there was one guy got in, and he got in 76, well before my time.
Yeah.
And there was one officer. And this officer came back to my unit, and he took over our company, and he was brilliant. And I thought, wow, I want to do this. He was just something so inspirational. He inspired me. I thought, I want to go for the SAS. And then he left and went wherever he went.
That's sort of butt in there, but that's awesome to hear him speak about. So there's an officer, a Rupert. They're not typically well liked for the most part, and in many respects. Don't get me wrong, they're just people at the end of the day, and there's some very, very good ones, but there's a bit of a stigma in and around them, depending on who you speak to. But hearing Mel speak about whoever this particular officer was, who came to his unit, and to hear him use the words that he was inspirational, that's awesome. But also not surprising if he's come from, or sounds like he had come from, the SAS regiment. So not surprising that he'd be pretty inspiring or inspirational to up-and-coming soldiers going through the ranks. But it's high praise, man. That's awesome.
And I put in, we had guys who coming back from doing the selection course saying, oh, yeah, it was so tough. They didn't like me. It was this, that, and the other. Never to put their hand up and said,
no one ever does they? No one ever does.
No, it's always somebody else.
I wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
It's good enough for me. Do you know what I mean?
Because as you know, selection is the most fairest course going.
Yeah, absolutely.
So basically, we had lots.
Sorry, quickly as well. I really do like what they spoke about there in terms of people struggle. Some people struggle to put up their hand and just say, listen, it wasn't for me, or I wasn't good enough. They'll come up with, not everybody, but some people come up with excuses about personality clashes, and or they'll live and die by that excuse or that reason that they refer to it as well, the badge members said that I couldn't reapply because I withdrew at my own request. I've spoken about that many times, and anybody that's been in the unit will tell you just reapply again. So yeah, it's seems to be the case no matter where you are. UK, obviously, these guys are talking about their one there, and people, it seems like it's just the same everywhere.
So people try and very few get in. And I remember saying to this lad who come back, I go, oh, I want to do that. And he went, no, mate, you won't be able to. I goes, why is that? He goes, because you're black. I goes, what's that got to do with it? And he goes, because they're all undercover in Northern Ireland, in pubs and bars. And I thought to me, oh yeah, that makes sense. I haven't got ginger hair and freckles. I'm not going to stand out back in then. Maybe this day and age, but then I thought, obviously I couldn't do that. So I never even decided to go for it for ages.
Well, you canned it because of that?
Yeah, I canned it. And then it was only because this officer came back a few years later, because they bounce around, don't they, sometimes.
But they usually come, if they're any good, they come back as a CO and all that sort of stuff, don't they?
Yeah, well, he was good, but he never went back to the side. He just did his troop commander's bit and then bounced around, ended up getting really high in the military. He came back this time somewhere else, and he saw me, a different company, and he goes, by now I'm a corporal. He goes, couple of hours, I would have thought you went for the SAS. I goes, I would say, but I can't. He goes, why is that? I was just being back, and he just laughed at me. He goes, because you can. He goes, obviously you won't be sitting.
Far out. That is sorry to hit pause and cut him off midstream, but I was going to hit it earlier, but I thought I've already just interjected a couple of times, pretty short space of time. So if I heard correctly, he was inspired by this officer he wanted to go. He spoke about it with a friend of his or somebody who said, you can't do that. He said, why? And then he said, because you're black. And because at that time, he said, what's that got to do with it? And his friend said, well, they're all undercover in Northern Ireland and this, that, and the other. And poor old Mal, far out. He took that as gospel and thought, oh, okay, well, yeah, that makes sense then. I can't join the SAS. And then this officer, full credit to whoever this officer is. I wonder if Mal, it'd be cool if Mal mentions his name, but maybe he can't. Maybe he's still serving or something. I don't know. But, surely he's not still serving. But hopefully he mentions his name. But what a legend. So he's come back. Says, Corporal Downs, I thought you would have gone for the SAS by now. And poor Mal, it's just I suppose the innocence of the guy, saying, oh, I would, but I can't. And what do you mean you can't? Well, because I'm black. And then he just mentioned that officer just burst out laughing. Man, just, time lost. I mean, everything happens for a reason and within the time frame that it's supposed to happen. But far out, you kick yourself, I know I kick myself at times for a number of things. But you'd be thinking, far out, I could have gone and done this earlier. Instead, I listened to this person over here who said I can't because of this reason. And if I link that back, that could be the same again. I don't want to discourage anybody from going for selection. I have shared my thoughts around it. Go there if you want to serve there. Don't go there just because you want to test and see how far you can get. I just think that that's a waste of everybody's time. But with regards to if you failed, if you quit, if you pulled off and you want to go back because it's been a bit of time now and you're more mature and you're more confident in your ability, whatever it is, then bloody reapply. Go for it again. Like I've said in other videos, it's not uncommon for badged members that are serving in the unit and have very long and successful careers to have failed their first and passed their second. Some even passed their third. So yeah, get up and go for it if you need to. That's just on the back of what I've just heard Mel talking about. Far out.
Sitting in the Belfast bar, but you come out and do the covert work. You be off the rip. And he goes, and there's loads of other things. I'm like, right, my paperwork went straight in then. However, I'd already put in for this island posting, so I thought I'll do the second island posting and then go on my SAS course. So I went to the Gloucesters I wanted to do more operational. So another operational challenge. I went back to Northern Ireland and Ballacally and down Dungannon and all that. So I did that, came back. That's when I was going to go on selection. But then the Gulf War happened because I went back to my unit and was back to Germany. And it just so happened then it was getting ready for the Gulf War. So I'm like now a corporal in charge of a warrior. I'm not going to go on selection when all my boys are going to war. So
but seen as a cop out.
So I withdrew that and then went on the first Gulf War. So
wow, yeah, I think anybody that wants to serve and go operational would have done the same thing, would have pulled their papers. You don't want to be a war dodger or be known as called a war dodger. I don't think you may still be called a war dodger if you were going on the SAS selection, but selection, operations. I would have chosen operations at that time if it was me, if there was that opportunity to go on operations and just to get that bit of experience, even though as keen as I was to get to the unit, because I'd already had an idea of how long that, like, got the selection, then you've got an 8 to 10 month, maybe longer cycle process of course after course. And during that time, you're missing out on experience and opportunities to serve operationally. So I don't blame him.
I was actually a warrior commander because we got the first warriors, because there used to be the old 432s.
That's right. Yeah. You're
so
warriors, isn't it?
When I came back from Ireland, and this is in 1990, the end of 1990.
That's even bigger. I mean, he was in charge. That's right. He said he was a corporal, so he was in charge of a platoon or a section, and using the warriors at that time. It's even more reason, I would say, for him to stay back and lead his men.
90, it was just gearing up for the Gulf War. So literally I went straight back got ready for that. And our unit was the first armoured infantry unit to get over there. We got over there some, months before the war even started, something like about August time. And the war didn't start till January, but we literally rolled up there, stayed in the big hangar for a day or two, then was out in the desert. So for that 5.5, 6 months waiting for the war to start, we just lived by the side of a warrior. We had 3 days, on 3 occasions, went back to a camp for 3 days at a time. So that's 9 days in total where you could go to a camp. And it wasn't a normal camp, it's just a tented camp. Yeah. But at least there you could have a sit-down poo on a makeshift wooden toilet.
Bit of adobe.
Yeah, and have a sit-down, have something a bit more proper to eat.
Yeah.
But apart from that, you were just living out the back of your wagon for all that time. But because of that, you got to know all your blokes so well. And obviously, because you were preparing for war, you were going on lots and lots of manoeuvres and attacks, and you were that much ammunition because you were priority. Yeah. And so you're just living out in the desert. And a lot of the times it was really boring because the manoeuvres with the big tank columns and everything. So you'd be just sitting in a warrior.
It's more for the root.
Yeah, for the root pits. Here we go. And we move this unit around to here and so on. So you're just driving around. And it's just like.
When these guys start putting on their officer voices, just cracks me up when they start, the hand signals and gestures. But it's the vocals that gets me when I'm listening to these guys. Just cracks me up. They do a very good interpretation of officers or rubrics, depending on who you ask. That's my take anyway, because people may think that they're a bit upper class or they're better than everybody else, and so they have a bit more of a posh accent when they're speaking. That's likely not I don't want to say likely not the case, because there probably are some people that might have a bit of tall poppy syndrome, but there are definitely some very, very good ones as well. But hard case listening to these guys speaking about it. It's more for the officers. But living out in the desert, living out the back of their warrior, their wagons, the bonds that they would have strengthened during that time. Yet I could imagine, especially if they're out there for 5 months or whatever it was before the first Gulf War actually kicked off, very boring, a lot of downtime, I would imagine. And then they've got their maneuvers for what they're doing tactically and getting rounds down range, making sure that their assaulting formations and all that sort of stuff are effective. And no doubt they were. But pretty interesting to hear he is there for the first Gulf War as well. Far out.
Like, every time you stop, you just get out and have a good person back in. But we never actually thought that war would happen. We had a little transistor radio, and we thought, this ain't really going to happen. And then we got after Christmas, we started building up more and more, and we were listening on the radio. You could just hear Saddam saying, "This is going to be the mother of all battles," and we were like, "Woo!" And then when they started out, all the alarms were going off when they were firing Scuds, because they didn't know where Scud was going, obviously. So as soon as it went over towards wherever it was going, I think Israel or wherever, alarms would go off. So all in our heads, we're getting nuked, we're getting chemical weapons. Here we go. I'm going to grow 2 pairs of heads, or what I'll look out for. What was it? The mess tins and all that.
Right.
But we'd have all gas. And you had all these horror stories. Oh, here we go. So basically, it was like that. And then eventually we moved closer up, and it said, right, it's going to happen. And you knew it was getting serious when they dug all the warriors in. So they dug all these armored fighting vehicles in, and then we were just static in one place for a month. So you could see the bombardments going off every night time for the night sites, way out in the.
So all the tornadoes going over, dropping their bombs and all that sort of stuff.
I was like, wow, over all them weeks of bombardment before there goes, this ain't going to happen. There's going to be nothing left. So that was the build up to it. And then come the day when we get the orders, right, this is going to happen now on this day. And we're like, God almighty. And, this is really, really serious. So the guys were writing all the death letters, and it was going to be a massive war and chemicals and everything involved.
Full on punch up.
When we did start, we get to the locations, and no kidding you, there was nothing left. It's been bombarded that much. It was like, wow. And then other areas you get to an area where they say there's going to be a unit there, and you're going to be attacking this, that, and the other. Because we use armoured infantry. There'll be the Scots Dragoon Guards and Irish Hussars and the Staffords and yours, and working together in groups. And because you've been doing this for all them months, you were really efficient at it.
Yeah.
And you'd be gearing up, getting ready, get out there, doing an attack. And they'd just be all prisoners and nothing left.
Just giving up.
Yeah. But then we had a company, I was just going to say squadron, but there were companies then. A company had been in a ding-dong. You heard about casualties from the Staffords. Like, wow, they were involved in the first armoured infantry attacks since the Second World War. So we were like, wow, this is big now. And then we moved on to this position. We thought, oh, there's going to be nothing left. And it was totally opposite. It hadn't been touched. So we started getting incoming. And before this, the guys we was told as commanders that you needed to be at the back of the wagon. So when them doors open, you push the lads out.
Yeah.
I said to the lads, well, I'll be at the front of the wagon. When them doors open, I'll be the first out and you follow me. But if I come back and make it back, if anybody hasn't followed me, you're going to get my full wrath. You know what I mean? And to me, one of the best parts of my career where I felt the most proud is one time that we were getting incoming. And it's like, right, this is full on now. And there was you could see people wanting to give up and be prisoners. But about 600 meters away, there was loads of them coming out of these trenches. But we were getting incoming on the Warriors. You can hear it, feel it. And we're getting all incoming. So we got the order, right, fire back, but fire over the head. So the chain guns, and then they started firing. But because we were firing over the edge, trying to tell them to put their arms down and getting some incoming anyway, the ones who must have thought, right, I want to surrender, I'm thinking, well, they're firing at us now, because from that far away, they could see traces. So then we got a lot more incoming. And so we were just getting attacked. So we had to move closer up and then get out and do an attack.
Yeah.
And at the same time, well, just before, we lost a guy, Sean Taylor, and then this is out the company. And then on that attack, as we debuzzed, all the lads had got out both sides of the Warrior. So I looked across at left and right, and I was really proud. I'm like, these lads are with us now. And then you started doing the business. But just over to the right, I saw one of the Warriors pull over, and it's one of my best mates. And we both know him. He's in the regiment of us. And I watched that Warrior debuzz. And then I watched these Iraqis who were trying to give up. It was flying the right flag, but then one of them then fired an RPG. And he took this, it was just like a bit slow motion. I saw the bounce in the sand come up. And then he took the Warrior. This is about 50 meters away. So I thought that Warrior, one of our Warriors had just been it. All them lads were just debuzzed. But right, they're going to be dead. But what happened was the entire war had actually hit the lad, Carl Moult. He was from Stoke. He was only 22 years old. It hit him right in the chest. Went obviously straight through his chest. Yeah. Hit the Warrior with the Chobham armor and then took off in the air and exploded in the air. And at the same time, all the FOSS come down. And so that was like, wow, it was just really bonkers watching that happen there. But the lads at either side of them, they survived. One of the lads, he was with us.
Yeah.
And
I do know.
How he describes what happened. He just thought the smoke discharge had come off from the Warrior, all bits of white FOSS. So that was a sad time. And then we carried on the attack, and then obviously attack, suppress, reserve. A platoon come through, and they took on another location. Yeah. So that was like the proper first ding dong, proper armored infantry attack. Because before,
in the day,
far out. Sorry, I got to pause there. There's a lot that just happened in there, eh? A lot of stuff. It seemed to go from a state of where he was talking about, I was the part where he was most proud. That's the part that I remember anyway. That's why I was like clinging on, listening for what that was. And I think it may have been the part where the troops fanned out and they were either side of the Warrior and they were starting to advance and do the business, I think is what he shared. I hope I got that right. I might have got that wrong. But I think that's the part when he was talking about that made him really proud. But there's bits before that, when he was told as a commander, you're at the back and you push your men out. I love what he did. He goes, bugger that. I'm going to be the first one by the ramp, first one out, and then make sure you guys follow me. But yeah, just leading by example, not standing at the back and then pushing your troops out and then coming out last. So that was cool. But man, it's sort of, I don't know, maybe it's because he doesn't want to get into too much detail about or having to relive that. going through that experience, but seeing that, like him witnessing that, an RPG bouncing, penetrating through the lad who was from his hometown of Stoke, going through that person, bouncing off the warrior, ricocheting off the warrior and going up into the air and exploding or whatever, and the white foss coming down. Far out. It's even though he went, that's if I've heard everything right. Even though he was speaking through that pretty quickly, man, there's a lot in that piece of what he was just describing and talking about, and then pieces within that as well. The soldiers from that other warrior that had debussed and that were fanned out either side by the sounds of things, who likely saw what had happened as well to one of their mates. Yeah, that's hectic. But it seems like we're not sitting in that, so I'm not going to continue sitting in that. And looks like it's about to head off into another direction, maybe, or Big Phil's about to say something anyway, so we'll jump back into them.
You know, I remember I was in Northern Ireland when all that stuff was going on. I'm looking in it and going, Staffords are doing it.
Yeah,
And I'm like, and I remember I got in trouble once because someone put a rumour out saying that they wanted door gunners in the Gulf, and I went up and banged on the RSM's door and he went, "Get out, you idiot." Like, I got extra for it, like, do you know what I mean? But yeah, we was looking at you lot going, wow, you're at war.
Because before this, I've been on 2 operational tours.
Yeah.
One as a private, and one as a corporal in Northern Ireland. But this was a full-on war.
Yeah.
And even though it was thick and fast on, 4 days, there was a part of that was just so intense, and that, to me, that was like the first really proper action I've seen, and it was full-on action. There was you're watching tanks fire at other tanks. That, Iraqi tanks what were dug in, and they were getting it, and then we was coming up onto the positions just after. But then we was told to stop. When we got the order stop, we didn't know it was the end. It was just sort of, hang on, they're stopping it now. We were just carrying on. It was right on the Basra Road, literally. And at the time, the Basra Road, it was a 6-lane highway, and it was going from Kuwait straight up. It was to Baghdad, And but basically, all the Iraqis would just try and do one. They would try and get out of Kuwait, jump in their vehicles, and make their way back up to Baghdad as quick as they can. And they were in civilian cars, and lots of buses, you name it, and tanks on the side of the road. So, because the coalition forces were just going up and down this road, blitzing it. So by the time we hit the road, they were still on fire, they were still burning, they were still all fresh. There's just bodies everywhere, and we were giving the order, stop. We're not moving from here. I'm like, what? And it was all mines, what the coalition had dropped, ground anti-personnel mines all over the place, saying, stay by your vehicles. We just staying here for the night. And then we ended up staying there for 3 nights. And it took about 3 nights before the engineers moved up and started using the bulldozers, moving all the bodies and this carnage. And it was nose to nose vehicles just burnt out. Some of them were burnt out. Some of them aren't being touched. And you can imagine telling the corporal and telling the squaddies, right, stay around your vehicles, don't go moving around. After a day, you're bored, aren't you? I'm like, right, I'm going treasure hunting. And you're on this road, and it's like something from, all I can describe it as, I know we shouldn't laugh, but it's something like an horror movie, you know what I mean? It was like I remember going on to this coach, and the tank caught fire, all the dead bodies in there, but they're all looking at, all obviously bits of skull hanging, everything everywhere, and just like touching them, and you're like, wow, this is like, is he alive? Is he looking at me? And it was just so grotesque. It was just like a mad waxwork display. It was like an horror movie. And one time we was just watching this dog on sentry. We was on sentry duty. I was on top of the turret, and he's got a human arm, and rigor mortis aren't even set, and he's got an arm, and the hand was in his jaw. So it's as if the hand was waving at you.
That's one of the weirdest things I've ever seen in war zones is fat dogs, and they're fat because they've been eating dead bodies. And you like look at them, and these things are like waddling, and they look at you funny, don't they? The dog's looking like that. Like, when's it might go on him?
Man, it's hectic. Eh? Pretty crazy in terms of what they've seen, but I think more so not crazy in terms of war. That's unfortunately that's stuff that happens. I haven't walked onto a bus or witnessed anything or seen anything like that, like what Mel is describing here. That's pretty graphic and, like you said, grotesque with regards to some sort of seems like a scene out of some sort of crazy wax museum, I think was what he mentioned. I think it helps that he's been interviewed and talking with Big Phil, who he can relate to, who've got a lot of the same shared similar experiences, and they know what their job is like. And that's I think where some people might think that the humor is a bit off, or that it's described as dark humor, whatever the case might be. Maybe it is just sort of how people within the unit are wired. Find a way, or that humor is an integral part of it, finding the funny side in things, even though some situations can be and may be pretty dire. Here in this case here, Mel's able to describe and talk through it, still have a bit of a smile and a laugh about it, I think because he's talking to somebody who understands, who knows the process of getting into the unit, who knows the process of deploying and being on operations, who knows what it's like to witness, to be in conflict, to be in contact, and that sort of thing. So I think that helps make it a bit easier. But if you were somebody that couldn't relate to any of that, not a soldier or anything like that, man, you might, it might make you a bit cringy to listen to that. Maybe, I don't know. Or it may just draw you in and make you even more interested in terms of what the unit does and what you may be exposed to. And that's probably the last piece that I'll mention on here in terms of what Mel has likely seen and been exposed to. We've had a glimpse, just the RPG, piercing his mate from Stokes' chest, bouncing off the warrior and going up in the air. Seeing the dead bodies everywhere, sprawled out everywhere, and dozers coming in to move those, then going onto a bus, like, as he mentioned, going treasure hunting, trying to tell the squatties to stay by their vehicles and not go out because of the potential anti-personnel mines. And, good luck with that. Guys are going to likely get itchy feet, depending, if they don't have the discipline to stay where they're supposed to be. So, pretty hard case, though. And then to see those types of graphic images clearly, and hopefully he's in a much better space or a good place. Like I said, when I met him in the private security sector, he seemed the same way he is now. Friendly, happy, positive, just a really good man. So that was my interpretation of Mel anyway. That being said, and it's nearly 30 minutes, so I'll probably wrap this one up here. I've yapped on long enough anyway. Really enjoying listening to some of Mel's experience, and love seeing him and Big Phil have a bit of a banter and a laugh together about things as they reminisce and talk about and touch on different topics. So appreciate your time. Appreciate you if you stuck around this long. Truly do value your time and input here. The feedback that you want to provide and put in the comments, send it through. If it's stuff that I need to do less of, do more of, I'm here for it. Like, I'm not going to get upset if there's people out there, and there are likely phantom commenters out there, that just have nothing better to do. And I think I've got enough experience to disseminate between which ones are genuinely providing information and other ones that are just, who really cares? I mean, if they're not happy with the channel and they've taken the time to comment, good for them. Thanks for your help. So thank yous anyway. Appreciate your time, as always. Anybody going through any difficulties, challenges, hard times, heartache, hardship, man, all we can do, you and I included, all we can do is just keep turning up, keep staying in the fight, to just know that the sun will shine again, that better days are coming, that there is a light at the end of that tunnel. I know it sucks. You know it sucks. Pretty much everybody we know knows that it sucks, that process when you're going through it. And we've just got to keep turning up. People depend on you. People need you, your presence, your advice, your guidance, your example. So just keep putting one foot in front of the other. Stay as consistent and as disciplined as you can. And I promise you, better days are coming for you sooner than you think. So as always, go always a little further. Remember, who dares wins and who cares wins. And until the next video, there's a big mana wave coming from me to you, filled with my aroha, respect, appreciation, and gratitude for you all.